All right. So, you know when sometimes you just get these two huge forces and they collide? Like, it's not literally Godzilla and King Kong, but in the music world.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're diving into today. Drake versus Kendrick Lamar. And even if you're not, you know, totally up on every single thing these guys have done, trust me, this is a deep dive into power and race and, like, what does it even mean to be authentic in music today?
It's so interesting, right? Because they really embody different sides of how to be in the music industry.
Right.
And almost like right from the get-go.
Yeah. I mean, so you've got Drake, who is constantly like top of the charts, just racking up those numbers.
Yeah.
But maybe doesn't always get put in the same category as like some of these other, you know, critically acclaimed artists.
Right. Or like the think pieces are not necessarily, you know, written with the same kind of weight as they would be maybe for like a Kendrick who seems to drop an album and like everyone has to have a discussion about it.
Totally.
Much more seen as the quote unquote like serious artist.
Totally. And it wasn't always like a battle royale, right? They actually started out collaborating.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, back in 2011, Drake's already pretty big, right? And he recognizes Kendrick's talent, features him on Take Care. 2012 brings him along on the Buried Alive tour. I remember thinking like, wow, Drake is seriously vouching for this guy.
And it's so crucial, right? Because that speaks to this whole tension that's always existed in hip hop.
Yeah.
Commercial success versus artistry and who has the credibility. And so Drake at that time very much represented one side of it, and Kendrick was still kind of coming up and trying to cement his place as the other.
And then they collaborate again on Poetic Justice, which I love. But then things kind of shift with Kendrick's verse on Big Sean's Control in 2013.
Yeah.
And he calls out everyone. Like everyone in the game, including Drake. And that's when you're like, okay, there's some competitive energy here.
Absolutely. And I think you also can't discount the way that the entire landscape had changed, even in those few years. Like the rise of social media meant that everything now, every lyric, every perceived diss is like amplified and dissected immediately.
Fast forward to 2023, Drake and J. Cole release First Person Shooter. Cole puts them all on the like big three of rap.
Seems like a compliment.
But it reopens that door of like, okay, but who's at the very top? And Kendrick, I think, almost surgically then comes in on like that and says, motherfuck the big three. It's just big me.
The internet exploded.
The internet exploded. Oh yeah, it was everywhere you looked. Fans going crazy, critics dissecting it, Billboard charts get involved.
Billboard charts, yeah. I mean, the music industry itself becomes another battleground now.
Yeah.
Right? Chart positions, number of streams like this all feeds into it.
Interesting you say that because, I mean, their approaches were completely different. Drake, at least initially, kind of goes for this like untouchable, almost like playful persona.
Yeah, yeah. Like with push-ups, for example, it seemed like he was almost trying to laugh it off.
Yeah.
You know, make light of the whole thing of Kendrick even like poking fun at his appearance a little bit.
Yeah.
But then it takes a turn.
Yeah, and that's where we have to talk about tailor-made freestyle. I mean, AI Tupac diss track. That was a choice.
Bold move for sure.
Bold move, but
It backfired for sure. I mean, a lot of people saw that as incredibly disrespectful, not just to Kendrick, but obviously to Tupac's legacy.
yeah.
And Snoop Dogg even weighed in on that, publicly criticizing Drake for what he saw as like a step too far.
Yeah.
And legally speaking, not a great look either, right? Like rumblings of a lawsuit from the Tupac estate. So it seemed like in trying to be, you know, make this power play, Drake really miscalculated how people would respond.
Totally. And it's like you can't help but contrast that with how Kendrick approached it. He waits, lets it all build up, and then drops Euphoria.
Right, and Euphoria wasn't just a diss track, right? It was like a dismantling of Drake's whole persona, like where Drake went for the humor and like, you know, trying to be above it all. Kendrick went for lyrical precision.
Yeah.
It was surgical.
And there's that one line, a product of a culture that you refuse to acknowledge. Like chills, man chills, that cut deep. Yeah.
It went right to the core of that like authenticity thing that had been bubbling beneath the surface.
Totally. And that question of like, is Drake really black? Is he appropriating? That's something people had been whispering about, but Kendrick put it right out there.
And not even just implying it right. The lyrics in Euphoria are so layered and complex. He uses words like colonizer. This is about like centuries of exploitation he's bringing up.
Exactly. This wasn't just two guys beefing. It tapped into huge EA issues about race and identity and who gets to profit off of what culture.
And then it got even darker with Family Matters and Meet the Grahams.
Yeah, things took a turn.
It felt like both of them were willing to air out any dirty laundry to try and like discredit the other.
We got to be careful here because we're talking about serious accusations now, things that haven't been proven in court. Absolutely. It's not our place to be judging or speculating about any of that.
Right.
But even putting aside, like taking sides, what does it say about hip-hop when it gets this personal?
It makes you think about the boundaries of art, right? Like, when does a diss track stop being creative competition and become something harmful?
Because we're not talking hurt feelings here. It
Right.
was infidelity, accusations, manipulation, even domestic abuse. It got dark fast.
And it put fans in a tough spot too, right? You want to support your fave, but at what cost? Does loyalty mean ignoring potentially bad behavior?
That's a tough one. And it's something hip-hop has struggled with forever. I mean, it makes you wonder, did this whole thing go too far?
It's a conversation worth having, that's for sure.
It's heavy stuff, man, no doubt. And it makes you wonder, like, where does this leave them? Who won, if you can even call it that?
Yeah, how do you even measure that, right? Because, like, commercially, Drake's still at the top of his game, putting out hits like nothing happened.
Right.
But critically, I think, in the court of public opinion, Kendrick shifted things, made people see Drake differently.
Especially with Not Like Us wise. Right?
Yeah.
That was a direct hit back. He even used the phrase certified pedophile.
Yeah, and it became his biggest hit, like topping the charts, sparking even more debate.
Wow.
So it's not as simple as like, oh, Drake's still selling out shows, so he wins.
Yeah.
Kendrick made everyone question that success. You know,
Oh, yeah.
What are we actually supporting?
You mentioned Drake kept putting out music, and he did drop The Heart Part 6, which some people saw as a response to Not Like Us. Did that even the score at all?
It's interesting because, like, he addressed the accusations in there, even denied them really strongly, but it didn't hit the same way Kendrick's tracks did. You know, it felt more like he was on the defensive trying to protect his image instead of actually, like, engaging with the bigger picture stuff Kendrick was bringing up.
So where do they go from here? It's been quiet, but like the whole thing left a mark for sure.
Oh, totally. I think it forced everyone listening to really confront some stuff about how we engage with music. What matters more, a catchy song or an artist being socially conscious? Do those even have to be separate?
It's like Kendrick raised the bar, not even just for Drake, but for everyone. It's not enough to just make music anymore.
Right, you got to think about the message you're putting out there.
Exactly.
And, like, those questions about who gets to profit off what culture, about authenticity, those are still being debated. And not just in hip-hop either.
This deep dive has been wild, honestly.
I sure-
Just goes to show you how two guys beefing can spiral into like all these huge issues about music race responsibility. It's a lot.
It's the power of music, right?
Yeah.
It makes you think critically, not just bob your head to a beat.
Absolutely. So to everyone listening, the next time you hit play on that song you love, ask yourself, what's the story here? What's this artist really saying? Does it sit right with me?
Because music's never just music. That's our culture, our values, right there in your headphones.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we'll leave you with that to ponder. This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us.